Hello, I'm Gary McCullum with Do the Right Things, and I'm here and I'm delighted to be with the mother of Deshayla Harris. Ms. Harris, it's so good to be with you today on Spotlight. And we also have with us Deshayla's nephew, Sincere, and so it's great to have you here as well today.
Thank you.
So we're going to look at some clips first, and then we'll get into our discussion.
That's fine.
No closure in the death of 28-year-old Deshayla Harris. Flowers, pinwheels, and candles set up in an area where she took her last breath on March 26th, a day this mother can't forget.
About 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, we're riding around going to the hospital looking for her because you identify her, so where is she? So she wasn't in the hospital at all. She was still here laying on the ground till like 8 o'clock in the morning.
A local girl turned reality star, appearing on a season of the Bad Girls Club with dreams of making it to Hollywood.
She was just her own shining star. She was into her own, she had her own way she dressed and she carried herself and she made everybody smile all the time.
Now her 3-year-old niece longs for her. Her mother showed us her ashes. Now says she's fighting for 3 things.
Justice, answers, closure.
The family says they have many unanswered questions. This is what we know. Gunfire erupted in 3 separate incidents over a span of several blocks at the oceanfront. 8 people shot. Investigators found 50 shell casings at the scene. They say a stray bullet hit Deshayla. Ben Farrell's cousin, Donovan Lynch, shot by an officer a block away. Several people injured in the gunfire. 4 men were eventually arrested, but none are facing charges for Deshayla's death. Her family showed us her autopsy report. No drugs or alcohol in her system, and you can see where the bullet hit her in the head. The report states a copper-jacketed bullet was recovered from her brain. Her mom says she feels frustrated by what she says is a lack of information about the bullet, where it came from, and what kind of gun was used to kill her daughter. She says police did show her a video of that night, but she says she was told that some of the street cameras weren't working.
I've seen a clip, but that's not giving me the closure because it's not showing me anything.
A family spokesperson also frustrated by what he calls a lack of transparency.
The bullets. What happened? I mean, come on. You gonna tell me that you can't figure out where that bullet came from or what kind of gun it came from? I'm ex-military. I know you can.
News 3 reached out to police about the case. They say this is very much an active investigation and say definitively the shooting did not involve any police officers. Back in April, police said surveillance video, eyewitness statements, and other evidence suggest that Deshayla was killed by gunfire exchanged between 2 groups of people. Her death happened minutes before Donovan Lynch's death, and police say the bullet recovered from Harris is not the same type of ammunition issued to members of the Virginia Beach Police Department.
It's hard to sleep and rest at night when you know there is a killer out here walking around amongst people and you don't even know who it is.
She believes that whoever pulled the trigger didn't mean to kill her daughter.
We know it was a mistake, that it wasn't meant for her. So I just want them, whoever, to own up to it.
Police say she was killed by a stray bullet in one of 3 shootings. The other person killed that night, 25-year-old Donovan Lynch, who was shot by a police officer. 10 of your side's Regina Mobley spoke to Harris's grieving mother.
Well, Tom and Anita Renee Harris is in grief, but she is also in anger about what she calls a city that does not care. Deshayla Harris's mother did not hear what Pharrell Williams at his cousin's funeral had to say about how Mayor Bobby Dyer responded to the police shooting death of 25-year-old Donovan Lynch. But the nation did.
And forgive me, but it took our mayor a week to reach out to this family.
12 days later, Harris has not heard from the mayor or any other politician from Virginia Beach.
Ms. Harris, again, I know that was probably tough to listen to, and you said something in that interview. You talked about justice, you talked about closure, accountability. Where are we? What's the latest? What have you heard? Any updates to what the news reports have indicated?
None at all. Still stuck on March 26th. The information we have is nothing. We have people, I have a support system that we're calling, and they still don't have any answers. The last time I talked to a detective, he told me we don't have any information. No one is calling, no one wants to reward. He said that I asked him about the ballistics of the bullet. Again, he said that's not his job to tell me that. He can't discuss that with me because he's not a bullet analyst.
That just seems so strange to me that something, and it came out, I think that was Mr. Wells, I believe, who mentioned, he had a military background. I have a military background.
Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis. It just, ballistics, why wouldn't you, the mother of Deshayla, know about the bullet, know the details about where that bullet potentially came from at this point? It's been March.
It's been 8 months now, and they won't give me no information. I asked them about the ballistics. Mr. Earl asked them about the ballistics. They won't give us no information. Actually, Mr. Earl is here on the phone. Mr. Earl.
Mr. Earl, thank you for being with us.
Yes, sir.
I was just noting, in the news clip you talked about ballistics. I'm a former Army Ranger myself, and I couldn't agree with you anymore. I mean, this is easy to find out exactly where this bullet came from. Am I right?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I think what really gave us a clue, sir, that something was wrong with the conversation the police were having with us. 2 weeks after it happened, they said that tobacco and alcohol had the bullet, and they would get back with us with the arrangement and let us know what happened and where the bullet came from or what type of bullet was. And that never happened. And that's what we realized that was a red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this, Ms. Harris. You've had conversations with some of the elected leaders here in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
What should they be doing? We know there's been a lot of inaction, but what should the elected leaders be doing around the fact that you're not getting the information that you need?
They should be working harder. They should be accommodating anything. I feel like they should be accommodating anything my family wants. And we want justice. Of course, my life is affected terribly. I haven't worked. I try to go back to work. I can't focus. My daughters are affected, and my grandkids are affected. So I feel like they should handle us more with care than to be nonchalant about it. It's so nonchalant. We're pushed back like we don't exist. You can't say anything about Deshayla because they hang up on you. They ignore the fact that it even happened. So we just like null and void. Like there's nothing, they don't care.
Your daughter, most of us have, we've seen the public image of her, but you knew your daughter. You knew how sweet she was and how sweet she still is because she still, her memories are here. And tell us about your daughter.
Deshayla was one of a kind. She was fun. She was really, really fun. And she was more like a little me. So she was, I didn't want her to ever be a people person, but she was a people person. And she had a big personality. And she wanted to always help people. And she has three sisters other than herself. And I always raised my kids to be amongst themselves, but Deshayla always wanted to have friends. So she had tons of friends I didn't even know about, actually. So, when she passed away, they loved her so much. They came by to show so much support and love for her. It was just unbelievable to me because I couldn't believe that she was just loved like that. I mean, I know she's lovable, but I just didn't believe how not like everybody loved her. And like I said, she was a ray of sunshine, actually, even though we bumped heads a lot because we just alike, but she was just my little ray of sunshine.
Sincere, what was your impression of your auntie?
Oh, she was very nice and kind most of the time.
Mm. Yeah.
She was loving and
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure, my faith tells me that we're all going to see each other again. And I know that as much as you miss her, her memory will always be with you. Ms. Harris, let me ask you this. We want to make sure that this city, this region, this country, this world never forget the light that she brought into this world. What can anyone listening to this, what can they do to support you, to support making sure that this isn't just swept to the back pages or to just that her name and what she did and what she contributed to our area, that it's not forgotten. What can the public do?
First, I want to say if anybody knows anything or seen anything, we need your help tremendously. We do have a petition that we have going around, and we want everybody to sign it, because the more people we get to sign it, it gets out there more and we get more supporters. So I just want everybody to just, help us get the justice that we need for her. And then when we get the justice, like I said, I just want her name to be around. Like Deshayla, she worked really hard to be where she was. And she was just beginning her life. And so her movie stardom, that's what she really wanted to do. She really wanted to be that. And the Bad Girls Club was just a step for her. And she was going to be so much bigger than what she was. But, unfortunately, they took her away. But once we get justice for her, I want her name to ring on forever.
Well, what you're doing, you and the family or sisters, what you're doing is you're making sure that her death is not in vain.
Correct.
And the contribution that she will make because of what you and the family are doing, it will go on and it will help a lot of people. You mentioned the petition. How do we get access to that petition? How does someone listening to this, is it on social media, on Facebook? How do we get?
Well, actually, I don't have a Facebook anymore. I do have an Instagram, but we do have stickers. Do you have one?
Yes.
We have stickers, and we have a little, we have, my friend has one, and my grandson is a little petition.org sticker. And you can go and you can just scan it.
Petition.org.
Mm-hmm. And you can scan it, and it'll come up, and it'll say you're all about Deshayla, and you can just sign it.
Excellent. Well, we will make sure that all of our viewers will get that information, because we do not want, do we have it there? Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. We will make sure that this information gets out. Justice for Deshayla Harris. We'll make sure that all those viewing will have this information, because again, her life, she was a ray of sunshine. Most of us who've seen her and just her talent, we saw that, but you saw a whole other side of her.
Yes, I did.
And that's why I'm sure why you're pushing so hard.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to share with us as we finish up here?
I want to also say I'm pushing because she's not the first. She's not going to be the first. She's not going to be the last. And even when I get justice for my baby, I want to make sure that I'm not going to stop, because I want to help somebody else. Because this is something that it's devastating. I tell everybody, you can never wrap your mind around losing a child that was taken away from you. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So I want to be able to be there for family members or mothers that can or will go through it again, because it's easier when you have somebody that can walk you through it than to go through it alone. And a lot of times I feel like I go through it alone because no one really understands if you haven't been through it. So it's really, really hard. It's really hard. So,
well, please know that all of us here at DoTheRightThings.org, as well as I've mentioned when we're off camera, the Virginia Beach Interdenominational Ministers Conference, we're not just praying for you, but we're here for you.
Thank you.
You know you have our phone numbers. You know you can pick up the phone.
Yes.
No matter what time of day it is, we're here for you, because, as you said, no one should have to bury a child. No. That's not something that we should ever have to do. But your strength, it's motivating me, and I'm sure those who are listening to this, because you're sitting here saying, look, we want to make sure that this is able to help other people.
Exactly.
And that just shows the love you have in your heart, and just how much we appreciate what you're doing. And again, we're with you.
Thank you.
So thanks for being with us today, and we are with you.
Thank you.
Please know that.
Thank you.
I look at that clip, Ms. Harris, and it's unbelievable that level of insensitivity exists within our political leadership here in Virginia Beach.
It does.
I think that clip said 12 days before anyone reached out to you.
Yeah, but I think they was talking about Donovan's family, because I did not talk to the mayor until like a month ago, maybe. I sat down with him.
A month ago. So you were talking October. So
Yes.
it was months before you heard from the top political leader
Yes,
in
and
Virginia Beach.
thank God to Sabrina Wooten. We reached out to her.
Councilman Wooten.
Yes, and she's been pushing buttons.
She did the right thing.
She did.
You know, it's mind-boggling to me that, you know, leaders should step up and again do the right thing.
Exactly.
They may not be able to provide all the answers, but at least they can be a conduit to let you know that they're here, that they're pushing for answers. You're saying none of that happened.
Nope. When I first sat down, Mr. Earl had got in contact with the chief of police. New guy, I don't know how to say it.
Chief Newdigate.
So we sat down and we had dinner with him. You know, so I talked to him. It still was nothing. He really didn't know anything. He was new coming on, so of course his police department gonna tell him what they want to tell him. But he was fooled to believe that they were doing their job. Like he thought that I had been walked through the crime scene and they was in contact with me. That's a lie.
None of that had happened.
No. Mr. Earl Lewis done all of that.
Wow.
And we done it on our own. They didn't do that.
And this is something, again, that you would think that the political leadership, the city government, city manager, police chief, this is what they should be doing. They
Exactly.
work for us. We pay tax dollars. You pay. It doesn't seem like our government is operating. You know, there was that clip showed Pharrell and his cousin Donovan being murdered by the police, and Pharrell eventually made a statement that there is this toxic energy. Do you have a sense of what he was talking about when he made that reference to the fact that there's a toxic energy that's located in Virginia Beach?
Of course, I really feel like that because if it was gang related, by now it's been 8 months. Why is it no one is arrested? Why? If it was gang related. So if I had done it, or you had done it, or he had done it, we would all be in jail. So it's just like, what is the issue? What is the coincidence? No one is talking about it. No one is doing anything about it. Okay, yeah, they'll say, we're still working on it, but you're working on it and I'm not hearing anything at all. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to call them every day and you tell me the same answer every day. Oh, we don't have no new information for you, Ms. Harris, or we're still working on it. I don't want to hear that. Even though it could be true. I know it takes time, but it's been 8 months now and nothing is happening. Nothing. Like no solution, no promises, no nothing. It's nothing. It's just, oh, we're working on it.
Yeah. And I think you made the point that if that had been someone else, if that had been, let's just say someone else's daughter.
Yes.
We give attention to some people, but to others we don't give attention to. And
I really still feel like with the women, women don't get a lot of attention like the men do. You know, yeah, she was a female and she was down there, she was enjoying herself and she had no gun, no drugs. But they're not giving her the right publicity like they're giving him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because I guess they feel like, well, it doesn't happen to women. It does happen to women. A lot of women are getting killed and hurt by the police, I'm gonna say. You know, but there's no one speaking up for these women. You know, so like I said, again, I want to be, if I have to be a representative, I want to because my daughter was. She was a woman. And like I said, it's brushed under the rug. Okay, we don't care. We're not saying anything. It's like a secret. And I don't understand why it's such a secret. But if she was out here and she was doing drugs or she had a record, or I'm sure it would be a big thing about her. You know?
Absolutely. It would fit the narrative that it seems is more convenient for our city government to put out there, as opposed to someone who is, again, she was a shining star.
She was
a beautiful, beautiful young lady, and to have her life taken away in this fashion, and then to add insult to injury, to not update the family, to not keep you in contact with what's going on. As Mr. Lewis said, to not have details about something as basic as the ballistics on the bullet and the weapon. those are inexcusable. And so I just applaud you for what you're doing. Again, we're here with you. We're going to make sure that Deshayla's name is not forgotten.
Please.
And those of you who are listening, again, we want to make sure you reach out, sign that petition. Obviously, we want to keep Ms. Harris and the family in your thoughts and prayers. We will be here with you.
Thank you.
We will not let Deshayla's name be forgotten.
Thank you.
You know, we've been talking about the fact that the city has not been responsive in keeping you updated, but I want to take you back to that night. You and I have chatted. There's some interesting things that went on that night with Deshayla's cell phone and what was going on social media. Can you shed a little light on what happened with her phone and just some of the things that simply don't add up about what happened that night?
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna go back to how I found out. So when I found out, we had got a phone call. I got a phone call through a FaceTime. This was one of her friends, her supposed to be godmother, had asked me, "Have you talked to Deshayla?" And I was like, "No, why? Do I supposed to be talking to her?" And she was like, "Have you heard anything?" And I was like, "No, what am I supposed to be hearing?" She was like, "So you don't know what's going on?" I was like, "No, what's going on?" And she was like, "She's gone." I was like, "She's gone where?" You know, because she never calls me on FaceTime. So I'm like, "She's gone where?" She was like, "She's gone." I'm like, "Where she's gone?" So she started yelling. So at this moment, I'm home alone. You know, I'm like, okay, so this got to be a joke or something. So I said, okay, I'm going to hang up, and I said, I'm going to call you back. So I called Deshayla's phone. And when I got to calling her phone, first no one answered. So I called my daughters, and I was like, listen, I need y'all to call her phone. I need y'all to get here, call her phone, something is going on. So they're calling, and we're still not getting any answer. So her girlfriend that she was with, it was two young ladies that she was with, her girlfriend answered the phone. And I was the first one she talked to, and I said, well, can I speak to my baby? She said, no, you can't. So I said, well, why can't I speak to her? And she was like, you just can't speak to her right now. So the phone hung up. So I got my baby daughter to call, and we was calling constantly, just, you know, where's Deshayla? Can we speak to her? Can we speak to her? So a friend eventually answered again. And I was talking to her, and I asked her again, can I talk to her? And she said, you can't, because she's laying on the ground, and she has blood coming out of her mouth. And they're now covering her up. I think they're going to pronounce her. So that point right there, I just lost control. And my daughters was there at this moment. And so we still calling her phone. No police never called me, period, point blank. No one called me. We called her phone. So her girlfriend still had her phone. And I guess we kept calling and calling and calling. And I think my youngest daughter was talking to her the most. And at this time, I guess the detective walked up, and he grabs her phone, and he was talking. My daughter was like, well, you know, can you tell me about my sister? What's going on with my sister? And he said, yes, I can. So my daughter then shines her light from her phone to me. He never said, Miss Harris, are you Miss Harris? Do you know anything about Deshayla? What kind of marks does she have on her body or anything? He never asked me nothing of the sort. He said, Deshayla has passed away. The phone went dead after that. That was a FaceTime call on her phone, not on his phone, on her phone. Her phone. Wow. And that's how I found out. They didn't come knock on my door. They didn't come knock on the door. They didn't give me no flowers. They didn't come, you know. You would think the way that you thought they would come is they would come and come over to your house that night and knock on the door. Miss Harris, we're coming to talk to you, tell you what's... I didn't get any of that. None
so
whatsoever.
Let me ask you this question then. Potentially, Deshayla could have captured video of what was happening that night.
I'm sure.
So have you had access to her phone, or?
They had her phone for over a month. I had to tell Mr. Earl, which sponsors me, and he, you know, speaks for me. I had called him, Mr. Earl, we need to get her cell phone back because I don't have her phone. I knew she had her phone at night. Deshayla stayed on Instagram, Snapchat. She wasn't a big Facebook person, but she stayed on Instagram. So I know 9 times out of 10, Deshayla recorded what happened that night. So they had her phone for about a month. And I said, Mr. Earl, I said, well, why we can't get her phone back? So when I said something to the detective, he said, well, we're using it for evidence. And I said, well, why would you use her phone for evidence if she was a victim? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why are you not giving me her phone? So Mr. Earl called and called and called, and he got on it, and they finally brought the phone. But the day that they brought the phone, her Instagram was still up. The next day, Deshayla's Instagram disappeared. Disappeared. Instagram,
So
her Twitter.
all the content on her Instagram and Twitter
disappeared.
was wiped.
Disappeared. I didn't authorize anybody to take it down. Her sisters didn't authorize nobody to take it down. Just disappeared. Her phone is now locked in airplane mode. No one can get in it. No one can get in it. When they brought me the phone, I asked him, I said, well, why is our phone locked? He said, well, we had to take it somewhere so it can get unlocked. So you had it unlocked, but you locked it back. Now we can't get in it at all.
Again, it gets back to what we said. Why are all of these questions unanswered? Why are you not being updated? Why are city leaders, why is the police department, city government in Virginia Beach still not answering basic questions about what happened to her phone, what happened with the ballistics? You have no updates on any of this information.
No.
Well, thank you again for being with us, and again, we are going to be with you. We're not going to do anything other than make sure that Deshayla's name stays out here until we get all the answers.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
19th and Pacific.
Once you realize that she's never coming back.
Renee Harris is in grief, but she is also in anger